Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another Top Cut breakdown video. You're getting two of these this week. Today we are talking about the core TCG and PPG webcam regionals that took place over the weekend. We'll get into that, but first, as always, guys, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a Dragon Ball Super video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways to do so down in the description as always. But today, guys, while I'm wearing the t-shirt, make sure to check out Mystic TCG down in the description for all your sealed product needs. They are our team sponsor. Excellent store, excellent people. They get stuff shipped out very quickly, and their prices are incredible. I've actually had several people comment on videos telling me their prices are really good, so make sure to check them out down in the description. Anyways, let's get right into this. We'll be starting off with the PPG regional webcam event, and firstly I want to let you guys know the deck lists are down in the description courtesy of Eggman. He took the time to compile all the lists into an Excel sheet, so I want to make sure that I shout him out for that. Again, deck lists down in the description. But let's talk about this, and of course, as always, huge shout out to PPG for one, always making their information widely available, and two, for creating awesome graphics like this for us to go over. So we have the top 16 of the webcam regional. Pretty sure it sold out 128 players, was a pure best of one, no sideboard. So let's break down top 16. We have 3 Trunks Vegeta, 3 U7 Goku, and 2 Gamma. So stopping right there real quick, I mean, that's the triangle. That's actually the exact triangle that we're used to seeing, right? Trunks Vegeta, U7 Goku, Gamma. These are the top 3 meta decks, but there are still so many other builds and so many other strategies you can play in this format. And what's really funny is, and this has been true for the past several events, while the format is defined by this triangle, none of these triangular decks usually end up winning the event, which is pretty funny. We'll talk more about that later. So for our singletons, we have 1 Blue Baby, 1 Android 16, 1 Reboot Beerus, 1 SS4 Vegeta, which is kind of similar to Beerus in several ways. Then we have 1 Red Bulma, 1 Yellow Turles, 1 Green Cooler, and 1 Black Mass Sand. All right. Of course, let's kick it off with Yellow Turles, man. This deck is an up-and-coming star, in my opinion. Obviously, it's coming off some real good success at Gen Con, where my teammate Scott was able to take second place with it at the Thursday Regional. And this time around, we have the webcam event being won by a mono Yellow Turles variant. Now, obviously, me and my teammates were all on the blue-yellow variant, but I mean, of course, there are going to be pros and cons to both. Obviously, the blue-yellow build, you have access to Sensu Bean, which is just super synergistic with all the amazing yellow dual attackers, namely Basil Fatal Rampage and SS2 Gohan Z Fighter. And if you're able to establish those cards and then pull off a cooler, and you still have a blue-yellow energy open, now you Sensu Bean all your energy up, and your turn basically resets, which is insane. But I mean, where the yellow build goes is like you don't have to worry about charging multicolor energy as early, where in Turles you don't have a lot of like dedicated turn 1 turn 2 plays, so it's okay to charge multicolor by turn 2. But in the mono yellow variant, you don't have to worry about missing on your blue yellows, because it will sometimes happen where you don't have a multicolor energy to charge for the first several turns, and now you have like 3 Sensu Beans sitting in your hand dead. So that can be a problem. Mono yellow, for that reason, is technically more consistent. You can play more yellow tech that you might need for the meta, and that's really where Turles in general, whether it's yellow or blue yellow, kind of differs from Trunks Vegeta, right? Trunks Vegeta has to dedicate like 16 to 20 card slots for archetype cards, and don't get me wrong, those archetype cards are very strong, and that's the only downside of Turles, is that you don't have like as good one drops as Trunks Vegeta has. But on the flip side, you don't have to play all those dedicated engine cards, because Turles doesn't typically play many archetype cards, and you get to just play all the best yellow cards or blue yellow cards in the game. And I think that's where Turles kind of pulls a lot of its strength from. The deck is incredibly strong, and I really do think it's a rising up and comer. I don't think anything in Zenkai format is really going to push it out, because one, if they're going to hit anything in yellow, it's probably going to be something towards the Trunks Vegeta deck, in my opinion. I mean, they could possibly hit Swift Retaliation Cooler. That would obviously be a big nerf to yellow in general, but with how represented Trunks Vegeta is, I kind of feel like the hit would be more targeted towards that deck. But I mean, who knows, right? It's all kind of speculation. But Turles, as far as no core yellow card gets hit, seems very good this format and going into the next format. Second place, Blue Baby. Man, this deck is also on a roll. Coming off the Otakon win for my teammate Mike, doing very well at Gen Con as well, and now a second place finish here. I mean, we know at this point we're in a very control heavy meta, and Baby is a very strong control deck. It kind of just always has been. But this deck, even though it's only getting like 1 top per event, it's placing very, very highly, which is interesting. And then third place, Blue Green Gamma. I mean, yeah, one of the triangular decks is bound to get in the top 3 and top 4 here and there, right? That's not too crazy. Other singleton decks that are worth mentioning, we have a Bulma player topping that was not my teammate Danny, so that's kind of interesting and worth noting. Maybe people are starting to catch on to the fact that Bulma is insanely strong. Another very interesting one, Mass Saiyan Reboot. This deck is also very interesting in terms of the aggro role, because again, like, we're in a very mid-range control heavy format. If we can actually find these aggro decks that can actually put on significant pressure by the first 3 turns, that's going to be a pretty strong position to be in the format. I think Green Piccolo could even be one that fills that same role coming out of Zenkai, and Mass Saiyan might be our best bet for this current format. Android 16, very similar to Gamma in a lot of ways, very different though, a lot more combo and battle centric, but still a blue-green Android deck at its core. Beerus and SS4 Vegeta definitely draw a lot of similarities in that they're both blue ramp decks. Beerus though, I don't know, I'm going to make a bold statement here. I think Beerus has potential to be better than SS4 Vegeta, only because SS4 Vegeta's ramp can technically get shut down pretty hard. Like, if your opponent can establish early blockers, or there are even a fair amount of strategies that can combo out of a turn 1, turn 2 Ultra Instinct Kamehameha leader swing. That's what, like, on the Unawakened side, a 25k leader swing. There are a fair amount of decks that can either negate that or combo out of that fairly easily, even that early in the game. So where Beerus kind of shines, that it has its own inherent built-in ramp cards. Like, there's a 1-drop Whis that I think is kind of like an objection. You pay 2 and you ramp it. Like, Beerus has cards like that where you don't have to worry about SS4's issue of not being able to do damage. You can still ramp anyway, which is kind of insane. And SS4 Vegeta has been playing this card called Gogeta Frenzied Burst, which basically says if you have 15 energy, burn your opponent for 4 life. That's a very powerful win condition in SS4. But Beerus has that same ability basically built into the leader himself. So I know I kind of went off on a tangent, but I just wanted to point that out, where I've been playing SS4 myself for about a month now, and I'm just starting to see where Beerus might actually have some advantages over SS4. Something I kind of wanted to talk about because I kind of find it interesting. But I think that pretty much wraps up the PPG event. Very interesting stuff as always. Of course, we had the triangle, but we have our very interesting outliers. Let's move on to the core event. So we have the core TCG online regional, 128 players, again, pure best of 1. We have SS4 Vegeta taking it all. So after I just got done talking about how Beerus ramp is better than SS4, we have SS4 taking the event. What I wanted to say before too, that I kind of just remember now, is that while I do think Beerus has some advantages over SS4, I mean, if SS4 gets to meet its game plan cleanly, it's probably the best ramp deck in the game, right? So it's kind of like that higher risk, high reward. If your opponent has the hard counters to Vegeta, you might have a problem. But if you have smooth sailing in the first early turns, SS4 Vegeta is probably the best ramp and best blue deck in the game, which is kind of wild. And of course, 4 yellow Trunks. Now, if you go down to the link in the description, like I mentioned, that Eggman compiled, he actually has an entire tournament breakdown of the leaders that were played. And as far as the most popular decks that entered the tournament, we have Trunks Vegeta taking up 16 slots out of 128. We have U7 Goku taking out 12 slots out of 128, and U7 Goku doesn't even make top cut here. And then we have Gamma taking up 11 slots out of 128, and 2 Gamma managed to top this event. So we kind of know at this point what the most popular strategies are. Just a little bit of talk going into Zenkai. Again, we talked about how yellow may or may not get hit, but for U7 Goku and Gamma, I don't know about you guys, I don't really anticipate a hit to either of these decks going into Zenkai. I can maybe see once U7 Goku, some people have talked about errating the leader. I can maybe see that because it's been so popular for several sets. Gamma, though, I mean, they're trying to push Dragon Ball Superhero movie. I don't expect Gamma to get hit in any significant way, and I only expect it to get more support. So if it's so popular now, I don't see that changing going into next format. Again, especially if nothing happens and no hits happen towards the strategy or archetype, right? But again, like, for how many are entering the tournament, how many players are playing it going into an event, only 2 topping is not that overwhelming in my opinion. What's really interesting though is that the next most popular deck is actually Blue Baby at 7 players, and then Expert Deck Cell at 7 players. To me, I find that insane. And then Mass Saiyan Reboot, the next most popular deck at 6 players. Wow, is Mass Saiyan really on the rise? I mean, obviously, only one top tier. And just to say the fact that Mass Sand Reboot top 2 events back to back, and then you know, coming off of the New Jersey event, you know, making top 4. Yes, it was a smaller tournament, but it was an actual best of 3. And this deck seeing a lot of popularity in this core event. Very, very interesting in my opinion. I mean, the deck just has a lot of free play at its disposal. You have all the Vegek starter deck cards, you have Overwhelms, you have the Mass Sand Reboot starter deck cards themselves. If you guys want to see an example list, of course, again, check the link in the description, or you guys can check out Sawyer's list from a few weeks ago. Very, very good list in my opinion. But anyways, back from the tangent, moving down this list, 1 AOD. I mean, my opinion, it's a fine deck. I don't know, I used to be more big on Agents of Destruction, but the more I've played against it, the more lackluster it feels. I think if you can get the Slug Lock going early, it can feel pretty strong, but besides that, it's really just 15k spam, and I don't know, it's been pretty unimpressive as of late. Yellow Turles, talked to death, not going to talk about it again. Cell Reboot, Android 16, expect to see him at this point. GT, definitely one that misses top cut here and there, but still a solid red deck. Raditz Reboot, okay, this deck is also coming off a pretty good finish at Gen Con, and here it makes top 16 again. This is definitely a super watered down version of Cell Surge, but I mean, you got a lot of similarities, right? This leader can actually attack and give your opponent life without adding to their hand size, because you do warp a card from their hand, and many of Raditz's warping effects actually play around to Boar Ritual at hand, which is really, really good. So, I don't know, Raditz might be a borderline fair hand control deck for any of you guys that really miss Cell Surge and want to play hand control. And then wrapping it up, we have a green cooler and a blue baby, and we already talked about Mass Sand Reboot. So overall, I mean, very interesting results, and the big player base, the big data pool is always very interesting to pull from. Yes, it was pure best of 1. More variants could lead to more wacky things, but still great data to look at. And the fact that we're talking about stuff going into Zenkai, I think is very, very helpful, because that format's right around the corner. And again, like, who knows? Maybe we'll get a huge ban list, but I kind of don't think so, guys. But anyways, let me know in the comments below what you think about this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.